So our first two examples were for addition. Our next two examples are going to be with subtraction. So problem number 3, 7 and 2/7 minus a negative 3 and 11/14. Go ahead and write that down. Hit pause if you need to. Now remember, I'm subtracting. What do I do when I subtract? I keep, I change, I opposite. KCO. So I'm going to keep my 7 and 2/7. I'm going to change my subtraction to addition. And I'm going to take the opposite of negative 3 and 11/14, and I'm going to make that a positive 3 and 11/14. Now, the reason I put a plus positive, you don't always have to do that, but I wanted to show you something. So if you know to keep, change, opposite, you can already go ahead and keep the first one, change that to a plus sign, and change that to a positive. Okay? But we really don't need that second positive there, that second plus sign. So we have 7 and 2/7 plus 3 and 11/14. They're both positive numbers. They both have the same sign, so we are going to add. Just like we would any other fractions. They need to have common denominators. 7 and 14. Common denominators would be 14. I have to multiply this by 2, and that becomes 7 and 4/14 plus 3 and 11/14. This second fraction already had 14 as my denominator, so I don't need to change anything for it. Now I can add. 4 plus 11 is 15. I keep my denominator. 7 plus 3, that makes 10. But wait, this looks funny. I have 15 over 14. That's an improper fraction. We can't keep that. So we need to divide. 14 goes into 15 one time. So I'm going to add it over here. Plus 1 with 1 left over. So I'm going to add together. So this 15/14 becomes 1 and 1/14. My final answer is now going to be 11 and 1/14. Because we added two different fractions that ended up being the same, they ended up being the same sign, both positives, my answer is a positive answer. Okay, now number 4. Oops, sorry. This one is going to be a little bit challenging, but we can do it. Negative 8 and 1/3 minus 5.5. What? Every other thing has been either both decimals or both fractions. This problem, I have a fraction and a decimal. What you need to do is convert first. Okay? Convert first. Before you do any math, any adding or subtracting, you need to convert your numbers. Now, yesterday we talked about converting fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. This 1/3, we know that that is a repeating decimal. So can we change 1/3 into a repeating decimal and be able to subtract something from it? Not really. So what that tells me is I'm going to change my 5.5, into a fraction. Okay? I'm going to change colors just so we know. So I have negative 8 and 1/3 minus 5 and 1/2. I changed 5.5 to 5 and 1/2. Now, because I'm subtracting, I keep, change, opposite. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to change my subtraction to addition, and I'm going to take my positive 5.5 and make it a negative 5.5. So if you don't want to rewrite it, you can do that too. Now I'm going to add my two negatives together. They're the same sign, so I just add. Negative 8 1/3 plus negative 5 1/2. Just like we do for any fraction, we need to have common denominators. 2 and 3 both go into 6. So I'm going to multiply by 2 for my first fraction, multiply by 3 for my second fraction. And I get negative 8 2/6 plus negative 5 3/6. Now I'm just adding. 2 plus 3 is 5. Keep my denominator of 6. 8 plus 5 is 13. They're both negative numbers, so I keep my negative sign. That is my final answer. Go back and rewatch these if you need to hear that instruction one more time. And then once you're finished, hit the next button to go on to the practice.